All right, Christian. All right, let's go back here. And Christian, do you have a mic on you? Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. And let's take a look at your work. How are you doing, Christian?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can definitely hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
I apologize. I'm going to try and minimize the echo a little bit right now because I'm sure it's pretty bad. So hold on one second.
All right, all right.
All right. Hopefully that's improved. All right. So you're still in ZBrush. Have you gone through and re-topologized anything yet or no?
I almost did, but then I decided to go back and fix some things I wasn't pleased with.
Oh.
I spent a lot of time just looking and fiddling with the mesh a bit, and I'm going pretty slow this weekend. So.
Okay. Well, one thing that I see on your model that is that's really, really working well is what you've begun on your body, your anatomy. Is it reads, especially from this angle, this reads really, really nice. I mean, he feels very like, I mean, if he feels, it makes him feel actually older. You know, I think of like a, I don't know, like an older bodybuilder. If you look at their physique. So let me pull up an example, and I'll show you what it's reminding me of, and maybe this might help you in sculpting that out. So I'm just going to search old bodybuilder. So if you look at this guy, and we look how the muscles are overlapping, there's something like this is how it's feeling, you know, very aged muscle. You know, so he doesn't feel like he's young. He feels like he's an older creature. What's interesting too is his front feet, which are hands, which is cool. You know, I like the way that you've actually added the thumb here and you've sort of done a human hand. It's actually very interesting. I'm curious to see where you're going to take that. I noticed the back foot though is pretty much just one thing. So are you just going to sculpt out the toes on there?
Yeah, I was going to. Yes.
Okay.
Just tried a couple of things and they didn't work, so I'm just still working on that. Just want to get those things fixed before going into topology.
Okay. I would say though, even I do like the structure of like the human hand on the front. It feels, it honestly, it's a little unsettling looking at it. But I would make a recommendation just so it doesn't feel quite so human. I might look at elongating the digits a little bit in areas, maybe pulling out the middle digit here, making it a little bit longer, maybe making this a little bit longer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe having a little bit more of a lead in on the top so that it does echo the human hand and would function much like a human hand. It can grasp onto things.
The opposing thumb.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. I mean it's cool. I mean what's cool is seeing this animated and possibly like, you know, walking in a bipedal fashion might be interesting, you know? Yeah. So that is very cool. I like the silhouette of the wings. I think it worked out really well. I think that, you know, I mean, it looks like you didn't really do much work to the tail.
No, I think that will be mostly feathers. I think I'm gonna add on in Maya or with fiber mesh.
Okay. Do you have good reference for that, for the feathers?
For some feathers, I got some. I don't know what's it called. But one of the birds of paradise, the black one with really long feathered tail.
I know the one that has the frill at the front that it kind of puffs up and dances around. Let me see. I think I know which one you're talking about. You have it on your concept sheet?
No, I don't have it open right now.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah, it's called like Black Widow something something. Long-tailed widow bird.
Oh, okay, awesome. Oh yeah. You're gonna have
Flowy thing like that.
you're gonna have a if you ever go in and rig this, you're gonna have a fun time with that. um, and actually, you know what? I think okay. I think I have an idea of the additional bonus content to give you guys now. Um, how would you guys like some rigging content to go along with your models?
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah? Does that sound good?
Yeah, really good.
All right. I'll work towards that end. And I have a couple people that I can bring in as guest speakers to do some lecturing or some demos on rigging. And then I can also give you some video tutorials on rigging. So hopefully that'll be fair compensation for the interruption of this week. I can't tell you how bad I feel about this week, just because the move has been such a nightmare. But yeah, I think that would be great so that you guys can rig up these characters. I would, and I mean, I'm gonna flatter you a bit right now, Christian. Your silhouette is really nice, and I'm really excited to see what ends up happening here in the final sculpt. You have some really nice stuff that started. I can't wait to see it come to fruition. So, but I'm curious. It's going to be because I wasn't seeing your character being feathered, right? So, like, even though you have this form, the webbed wings, right? So it should, I'm curious, how are you thinking about reconciling the webbed wings with sort of like the feathers in the tail? Is there an example from nature that you're seeing that you're going to follow in that, or is it just sort of out of your imagination?
Yeah, I'm just working on that, so to speak. So, trying things, and yeah, I'm really. That is one of the things I have to decide on. So,
I'm going to search something. Let's see. Let's just go hairy bat. um, so I'm looking for something with longer fur, and the reason why is that, there we go. This might give you some ideas as to how like the feathers might transition into the wing. All right, so if we look at that,
cool. I like this fade in.
let's see if I can get.
Because I didn't want him to have like feathers all over, but just on some places, I have to strike some balance.
Yeah. Yeah, and at some point with those wings, the feathers will have to terminate, right? There have to be a termination point where the feathers end and the body or the wing, that style of wing begins. At least that's the way I would be looking at it.
Yeah, just use them sparsely and cool transitions.
Cool. Well, so I'm gonna stick to my original suggestions and about the hands, seeing you resolve the feet. Now is he older? I mean, 'cause this is the anatomy is I like that I could see everything so well defined, but right now, like I said, he's feeling old. Is that your intention?
I'm sorry? Can you...
Is it your intention to make him feel sort of older and maybe a little bit gnarled? Maybe he's not a young beast, a young creature.
Yeah, maybe a bit.
Okay.
Not so much. So I think I'll go in on the final pass with some clay or smooth valley to give him some more skin and fat between the muscles. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't want him to be really smooth. So
Okay. So then I would do that and then pick just key areas, right? It doesn't have to be every muscle doesn't have to be outlined, but find the key areas of the separation between the muscles that are really going to define that area. Like come in between the connecting pieces here, where the deltoid is working into the limb there, and maybe where the bicep is coming in, make that separation clear. I guess I'm looking over your individual muscles now, and you do have a little bit of lumpiness in your sculpt, right?
Yeah.
So this is typically caused by sculpting at a very high subdivision and doing and staying there and making very large movements at a high subdivision. So do you have everything in Dynamesh still, or do you have subdivisions on your model?
Well, I re-dynamished them quite high. Is at 900,000 polys right now.
Yeah.
I did a C remesh with Dynamesh with all the these subdivisions.
Yeah.
And in the end with C remesh, but the eyelid is quite small, and I lost some detail that I really liked. So I kind of.
I see what you're saying.
Was a bit of a problem.
So
decided to carry on sculpting on the high subdivision project.
So here's what I would recommend doing just to get the body sorted, so that you can avoid this sort of lumpiness in your sculpt. I would maybe look at separating the head into a separate subtool to preserve what you have here. And then going through the body, and the reason why I'm asking if you have subdivisions is because in order to get rid of this, you really need to be at a lower subdivision. That'll help you resolve these areas of lumpiness. And I think that'll also help them feel a little bit younger. I mean, I pulled up the older bodybuilders, because if you look at their muscles, they're very gnarled. They're not a smooth surface, right? So I'd say that even though I know you don't want him to be completely smoothed out, right? You want this muscle definition. I think
I like the definition.
I think that you could benefit from those lower subdivisions. So, and then import, and then when you're ready to import it into Maya, just import it as two separate pieces of mesh, and just put it.
Just import it with.
Yeah, so you'll be exporting two OBJs. One will be the head. Yeah, and then one would be the body. You import both, and you just go into Maya and say mesh combine. Right, so that they're viewed as one object, even though they're two separate pieces of unconnected topology.
All right, I'll write that down.
Right, so that way you can preserve what you have in the head that you were losing with Dynamesh.
Yeah, that's really awesome, because most of it kind of keeps its form, but the eyelid is quite tiny, so it's really that's lost.
There are other ways of preserving that. So if you here's another method if you want to try it. If you go and use at the subdivision you're at right now. You said it's 900,000 polys?
Yeah.
Okay. Go in and Z-remesh that. Right? So make a separate subtool, a duplicate of this, Z-remesh that, then let's minimize that. There we go. And then have your original body visible. Subdivide up that Z-remeshed geometry, and then manually project here, subdivision by subdivision, kind of like I did last Friday with reprojecting my detail back onto my new mesh.
Yeah.
Right, now that takes a little bit longer. You run the risk of crashing as you subdivide up. You might end up having to resculpt certain areas, so in some ways it's less than ideal. So I'd say that's why I was like, okay, well, maybe the best option is to take those in both as, as separate pieces of mesh, the head and the body.
Well, yeah,
Okay. But this is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, and it sounds like I'm just flattering everybody. But I'll tell you right now, I am super impressed with the caliber of work that is coming out of this class. Um, I'm, I was, I'll be super excited if I could see it rigged and maybe get some play blast of maybe some animations that you guys do with it, or just even just moving the rig around. It'll be really exciting to see that stuff, and especially with our next character, right? It'll be awesome. Um, so let's see. I'm going to make you guys some promises today, and let's pull this up. Let's go. Let's minimize all my notes. Let's do a new one. So, thank you, Christian. That's all the feedback I have for you today.
Thank you.
All right. Let me pull this back up. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. All right. And let's check the questions and see if there's anything new in here. Simon had a question. Let's push this out. I'm a bit afraid of adding details like wrinkles, etc. to neck as when posed. I want the neck quite bent, and the same with the other areas. I'm not sure if I should try to pose it on layers first or something. I would look at persistent folds, Simon, on your piece. So anything that would be persistent between the neck being fully extended or being compressed, I would look for those and put those in. For anything that where you might have, and this is where we're going to hit a limitation of sort of games versus film and the models and maps and all that sort of stuff. You can do map swaps. So if you were to do, say, a set of wrinkles and folds that that are present when his head is looking up, as opposed to when his head is looking down. You could do a map swap inside of Unreal, right? But that's also going to be, I mean, you would load it, and it would be similar to like a level of detail, like a LOD load, right? You just swap the map out and swap the materials, and you'd have to tie that into the rig, and it gets a little complicated. It's much easier to do, say, when you're rendering something out for film. It's a little bit easier to do that. So I would say, for now, just look at persistent wrinkles and folds that would be there no matter what position the head is in. And maybe drop in a few for sort of the default position that the head was in. Yeah, so if the neck is going to be bent, focus on those, and maybe don't do it too heavily, do it subtly, right? And then focus more on what would be persistent. I keep on repeating myself. All right, cool. All right, so here's what I want to pass off to you by tomorrow morning. So I'm going to go ahead and build out a saddle. I'm going to show you how to manage the wings. I'm going to have last Friday's session up by the end of the day today. So that might be within an hour or two after we're done. I'm going to arrange for rigging content for you guys, and that'll be set up in the go-to webinars for you. And I'll see if I can get, let's get 2 sessions for you guys with live rigging content. I'll talk to a friend of mine and get him in. And then I'll also look at pre-recorded rigging content for you. So this is sort of bonus. And then over here, We'll do the saddle, manage the wings, texturing, and then Friday, what we'll be covering will be map generation, and on, so this is, we'll do polished sculpting here too. And for that, I'll do some Undo History movies. Did you guys like the Undo History movie? Did anybody watch the Undo History movie? Are those helpful to you guys, or is it just sort of eh? I'm never quite sure, like, I know they're cool to look at sometimes, but I'm never sure how actually useful or educational Undo History movies are. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, Ash. Yeah. I mean, I'll post them for those of you that want to see those. It doesn't take a lot to produce them, so I'll put those up for you guys if you want to watch them. But I feel like, yeah, I don't know how educational it's. I don't know if a time lapse is better, but yeah, I'll have those up for you. So polish sculpting, texturing, and then on Friday's session, map generation, any reassembly that needs to take place inside of Maya. If we end up, because I'm going to have to take the wings off of the mesh, I'm not going to be able to rejoin those inside of ZBrush. I mean, there's ways that you can, but it's not going to work well. So we'll do any reassembly that needs to happen inside of Maya. I also need to get an eye model out for you guys. So let's make sure this comes up tonight. And then reassembly in Maya. UVs. Actually, we'll do UVs tonight. It's going to be a busy night for me. UVs. And then on Friday, the last thing we'll do after we generate our maps and reassemble everything in Maya, we'll go into Marmoset and come up with a nice Marmoset render. So this is an outline of what's going to happen between now and Friday. We'll have this at the end of the course. So what I'll do is I'll do 2 weeks extra with me, and then I'll have 2 sessions with my friend Dan Fisk, who's an awesome rigger for games, and he'll come in and do rigging with you guys, and then I'll also have some additional content, some pre-recorded content for you guys on rigging. So how does this plan sound to you guys? Lecture 30 is the wrong movie. It's the same as 26 in Project 3. Thank you, Christian. I'll make sure that's taken care of. So how does this work out for you guys? Does it sound like a good plan for you? Okay. So I'm a little bit, like I said, a little bit discombobulated just because of the move this week. So at this point, is there anything you guys want me to tackle for you today, or any issues that you're hitting inside of ZBrush? Is there anything you need sort of demoed outside of what I've already listed here that I'm going to provide to you by tomorrow morning? Will we be posing at some stage? Sure. I'll mix that in for Friday. So before we go, let's see. After we reassemble, we'll pose in ZBrush. We'll pose out our low res, and then we'll bring it into Marmoset. All right. So Marcos, Ash, Christian, you guys, Claude, you guys have anything else beyond what I've already talked about today in the crits, or are we good for today? And we'll pick up on Friday and get that content out to you tonight. All okay. Okay. All right, Claude. Sounds good. All right, you guys. So I'm going to wrap it up a little bit early. I'll have this video along with additional content, well, last Friday's content uploaded probably within the next 2 hours. I'm just thinking how long it's going to take me to chop up this video. And then we'll pick up on Friday, and I'll have those videos out tomorrow morning. Sound good? All right, Simon, you have another question? No problem, Marcos. On doing animal studies, as you mentioned, your cassowary. Yes, I will. So, I mean, honestly, my animal studies are just reproduction, and I can go through and do some of those. And I'll have those recorded for you too. Let me put that on the list. So this will just be something that I have as a bonus at the end. So animal studies. Awesome. Thanks for reminding me, Simon. All right, you guys. If there's nothing else, I'm going to go ahead and end the session. You guys have a beautiful day, and I will see you on Friday. And please let me know that everybody receives. You know, I'll put a note in the discussion letting you know that the videos are up, so you can find them under Project 3. But please let me know if there's any issues, if you have any issues downloading it, if you have any issues in general with the content, so that I can take care of that immediately for you. All right, thanks you guys, and have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.